Welcome to the Lovecars On The Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff, Needell and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to Lovecars On The Grid, your global motorsport podcast roundup, where we look back at Dakar and Formula E, and we look forward to Monte Carlo and the Daytona 24 hours. But first, in the news, what have you got, Tiff? Welcome back, by the way. You've been on holiday, haven't you?
Yeah, week away. I just slipped below the equator for a small bit of hot air. I still don't look as tanned as you, but you're in Mexico, so you've been out of the sunshine as well, haven't you? We'll come to all that.
Yes, we will. But so all refreshed from your holiday, all feeling good. You're looking very good.
I'm feeling a bit woozy flying over.
You only got back this morning.
Overnight flight.
But there's surely a man of your caliber, first-class flights, flatbed, champagne.
Not quite. Let's move on. Not quite. Sadly, we don't all earn £1 million. Just because you've been on telly doesn't mean you earn £1 million a year. I always tell people that when they would say, gosh, you must be completely loaded. Now, the news today really was just coming over to see the picture of the mafia boss, Luigi Hamiltoni. Have you seen the photo of him?
Yeah.
The famous
Godfather.
Enzo Ferrari's office behind, so he's obviously got that in his head, they've got the F40 there. And then, what a picture. His hair's receding a lot, doesn't he? Now he ties it back tighter and tighter. He's looking at his age a little bit now, but wearing the suit and tie and the big coat draped over the shoulders. I love Lewis when he does this. I mean, the clothes he wears, some of the stuff has been absolutely ridiculous, hasn't he, when he arrives? It's usually Thursday of every Grand Prix turns up in these most amazing outfits. And I'm fine for him to do it. I don't dislike him because he does it. I don't like what he wears, but
they're ridiculous to you, but they're not ridiculous to him. But they're ridiculous to me as well, by the way. But good for him.
Formula One's becoming ridiculous to most of us, whereas
don't get me bloody started on that.
What are you upset about now?
Well, we got invited to go to Australia, all expenses paid. This is hot off the press, by the way, with a British-based team, so it narrows it down a little bit, to go behind the scenes, look in their garage, show our viewers, because we're doing a 1-hour motorsport special for Amazon Prime, by the way, as many people know, but some might not know. So behind the scenes, just in their garage, just in their drivers' places where they go, and the hospitality.
You can't, can you?
No, they said no way. They said they would not even entertain it. They said, no, you're not coming. You are not.
I can't believe the team didn't know that Formula One would have nixed it.
Why not? It's a motorsport.
Bernie's been doing that. Was doing that for about 50 years. You couldn't go into Formula. You couldn't take cameras into Formula One garages.
Okay, Mr. Needell, what happens when these influencers with millions of followers go there with their cameras and they put it all over their social media and they say, "Oh, look at me inside the garage. Look at me inside here. Look at me here."
Oh, do they then? Well, I haven't looked at those.
They do all the time. But surely Formula One want to promote it and show.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Their program is on Netflix, isn't it? What's the program called? Drive to Survive.
Drive to Survive. If it's different to that,
Netflix.
This is a motorsport special. It's from
what is Amazon
to the
Prime
elite.
on? What is Amazon Prime on?
Amazon Prime is a competitor to Netflix, but that's irrelevant. We're raising awareness for Formula One. But that's like saying it shouldn't be on Channel 4 for highlights or on Sky because
they
it's on Netflix.
Pay a lot of money for that. How much are you paying F1 to film?
Well, I had to fill out about 20 pages of my inside leg measurement and how much money we got, which wasn't much, by the way, as you know. But and they still came back and said, no, it wasn't even about the money. It didn't even mention the money. It just said, no, you are not coming. You are not filming. And I said, so what if this team were to give us their footage? No, we still own it. Tough luck.
We need to move to America. If you'd asked, we'll be talking about the Daytona IMSA program to go and do a documentary about the Daytona 24-hour race this weekend, we'd have been not just in the garage, we've been on the track, in the pit lane, in the grandstands, everywhere.
Well, it's a good time to talk about Formula E or Dakar. We spoke about Dakar already. Formula E, because I did go to Mexico and it was the red carpet. This is amazing. What do you want to do? Who do you want to see? Who do you want to have an interview with? They're so keen to raise awareness about Formula E. And indeed everything else. We got British Superbikes, got MotoGP, we got like I said, club racing. We've got World Rally, all sorts of things on there. The only people that have said no, Formula bloody
Not
One.
surprised. I'm not surprised.
Well, they say no. They say no to the likes of Spa. Let's have that every other year. Let's drop.
How
some
was Formula
iconic
E? So I read the story. So again, we talked about this before you went about how this new time attack race, what's it called, attack mode, has become from being too little in effect too much. When I read the story, it seemed like Oliver Rowland just drove past 3 cars to go from 4th to 1st to win because he had attack mode and the others didn't. Now, did that look a bit silly when you were at the racetrack when it was going on?
It is a bit weird. And it's what I don't like about it. I like the attack mode. I like that you get 4 minutes of attack mode or whatever it is, 6 minutes, whatever it is.
Total. Six
total.
You can split it as you want.
But it's such a lucky thing. It's not about strategy, it's luck, because there's always safety cars in Formula E. And it's he who gets luckiest kind of wins, and it's not the way you want to win a race. I do like it. I didn't know, so I learned a lot about Formula E. I didn't know that the battery of those cars, 50 kilowatt hour batteries, but they were only allocated 38.5 kilowatts for that race. Because I said, why isn't it flat out racing the whole way? And they said, well, because they want it to be tight.
They advertise it as an energy saving race. They don't want flat out racing. That's part of its whole genre, its whole reason to be. What's that word you have? It's raison d'etre or something. They want it to be an energy saving contest. So they don't want you flat out. So they make sure you can't go flat out. Because that isn't what Formula E is all about. But you were Jaguar, weren't you? Was the team you were mainly with?
Yeah, mainly with Jaguar.
And they have the other thing. This happens a lot. This spiking of a bit of torque. And you had 3 Jaguars were put out of qualifying, weren't they? Because the Andretti's got Jaguar power plants as well. But it seems to happen. It seems a bit weird that you can have this problem. You just get a spike, and then you're disqualified. Lap times are gone. Did you understand much of what was going on there?
No, nothing at all. Actually, the roving reporter didn't report very well on that. But no, I mean, Nick Cassidy went out of qualifying because of track limits, and he didn't do another lap, which he should have probably got another banker in, but he thought he did enough, and he was saving his tyres because you only get 2 sets of tyres across the whole weekend. They don't like those hand-cooked tyres. So Nick Cassidy went out because of that, and Mitch Evans, what a lovely guy he was. No, I don't know. Why did he go out?
Well, he was at the back of the grid, wasn't he? No, it wasn't the back of the grid again, was he? Because he came from the back of the grid to win.
That was a previous race in Brazil.
But he crashed towards the end. That's why he had an incident. So he retired, didn't he? So he scored nothing. Not a good weekend for Jaguar. But it seems because the luck was really, because Porsche seemed to have dominated it. They seemed to have got the best engines, power plants, whatever you want to call them. Because they were on the front row, and then they were walking away with the race. And luckily for Oliver Rowland, he hadn't done his last time attack. And when he took it, little did he know when he took it, when he took it, he just thought he would keep up to 4th because he'd already dropped back a bit in time. But then there was a safety car, which allowed him to be on the back of the 3 leaders. And then when the safety car disappeared, he just drove past Jake Dennis and the 2 factory Porsches to go on and win. So
it was good. Do you know what? It's not for me. I'll be honest with you.
Crowd, the great Mexico. They always see them big crowds. Any motorsport in Mexico, they pack out there. Did you look in the stadium area during the race, or were you more in the pit?
Yeah, it was full. Yeah,
it was full. Yeah,
I walked all around. Yeah, it was because it's so small, and it's very strange. So anyone that's ever been to any motorsport, even in the UK, even small club races, you get Arctic lorries, and they got full of equipment and cars and all sorts, and motorhomes. Not one single truck or lorry at the whole place, because it's all about sustainability. I like this part of it. And they just chuck it onto 2 containers, then they chuck the cars in another container.
Garages.
And they, like a mini DHL sort of, or a big, only less like 15 feet by 10 feet probably, container, and the DHL come and pick it up. But the
crowd looked interested. The crowd was sort of involved in the race. Knew what was going on. They were all leaping up and down. No Mexicans on the grid, so that didn't help us.
Well, it's very surprising, funny that you say that, because now I get the whole Checo Perez thing, because they were going mad for anyone that is even remotely like a Mexican. South American, that was good enough for us. Anybody from South America or that wasn't that far away from Mexico, they were cheering like crazy. They were going mad. Actually, it was every time they come around.
Hugely enthusiastic motorsport fans. They love it.
They are. They're brilliant. The fans are great. But all that for 45 minutes, all that going to Mexico for a 45-minute race where you're conserving energy. So, and there's, look, it's very, very impressive. I can't wait to share the item with you. It's very impressive what they are doing for sustainability. But it's not for me. The whole thing isn't for me. I'll tell you who I ended up spending quite a bit of time with. Someone that I haven't been very pleasant about over the years is Dan Tipton.
Oh, right.
And it's funny how you can, because you can, and you know what it's like with emotion. We've said it many times before when you got your helmet on in the heat of the moment. And he just said that, what did he say? I was laughing at his radio message. We're having a drink with Cooper, actually, because he's in the Cooper team. And he said, most people don't get me, but I'm sure Tiff would.
We must meet then. We would get him on the podcast then. But he's not liked by Seri because when he went mad and took someone out, and his radio mad has been so awful in the past. But actually, he's not. They don't call it Cooper anymore. Hasn't he changed the name and got a different? Haven't they got a better power plant this year?
Yeah, they've got a chance this year. Certainly, well, they got some first points in Brazil.
He was last. He was last in Mexico.
In Brazil, because he got knocked out. He was doing okay, and he had the calmest radio message of all time. Somebody tapped him going through the stadium bit, span around, ruined his race, and he said, "Yeah, so what do you want me to do here then, guys?" He was so calm about it. So very unlike Dan Tipton.
Yeah. Well,
he was actually a very, very, very nice lad. But just he's. I can't remember the actor. They'll come back to me. His exact words. But he said,
does he enjoy Formula E? I presume he's now a paid driver. I mean, is he sort of looking to get back into Formula 2 or Grand Prix, or does he think this is where he's going to end up?
I think he enjoys it. I think, look, they all toe the corporate line, don't they? Because we were told by one of the team managers, I won't say who, that they are the best drivers in the world, better than any Formula 1 drivers, better than any IndyCar drivers, and they all choose to be here. Absolute rubbish. You give any one of them a Formula 1 drive and
or IndyCar drive or a Super Formula.
Absolutely. And because they've got no trucks, which is the oddest thing. So you've got the drivers going for a pee before the race, a nervous pee, in the public toilets, which is just, I can't get my head around it. It's so weird because normally they have their own private place, they can get changed, and they've got nothing like that. They've got a tiny little private office within the garage, but you know how big a garage is at a track. It's not that big.
No
by
toilets
the time you
in those garage. There's been toilets in the garage.
No, because they got them all. They're all sort of modular, and they set their team up all around it, so everything's blocked. So they've got to go there.
In fact, there was talk in the motorsport today about Perez's dad saying, maybe Formula E they've looked at, but there was a Formula E quote about, well, of course, now we're the number 2 Formula in the world, and we'll soon be number 1. I'm sure Checo will be interested. The way they talk about their Formula E, the number 2, what IndyCar? No, you haven't mentioned that, or world
number
sports
2 about
cars.
What exactly?
How do they rate Formula? That? The number 2 Formula in the world. We are. And we'll soon be number 1. Soon be number 1. Or just what they believe out of their own heads, out of their own PR, out of their own.
It was the Jaguar were amazing. That's how I would want a race team run. Super professional, but also they were hospitable, and they were just very organised, but very nice, very
chilling.
They were on it, but
good.
So.
Well, also racing this last weekend, we forgot to preview, of course, the single-seater children. We're going back now, talking about future Formula 1 drivers.
Our mate.
A lot last year. The 3 series have kicked off, 2 out of the Middle East. The Formula 4 Middle East Champion. This was at Yas Marina, 29 cars, all these children out there with their dads and money and budgets. And an Italian, Emanuele Oliveira, is setting the pace in the Formula 4 Championship in the series. And it's funny, isn't it? You change a team. He was 17th last year in Italian Formula 4. And then he's winning, in the winter when he changes, gets a different team, RAC's Grand Prix. Meanwhile, the Formula Regional Middle East, Freddie Slater's out there. And how many cars in that? 26 cars in that. And Freddie won 2 poles, 2 wins. and 6th in the reverse grid race. So he's just continuing this winning form, which is just because this is the season he's doing. He's doing Formula Regional European. So last year was Formula 4. And now he's doing this Formula Regional Middle East, and then he'll be doing Formula Regional Europe, FRECA. And yeah, winning again. And he's also signed, that is news today, he's going to do some GB3 races. GB3 is coming alive.
It is.
They've got another 2 or 3 Grand Prix circuits. They're spreading into Europe slightly. The budget's way less than FRECA even, and it's sort of a better car. So, and of course, that's where Abbey Pulling is next year. So you're going to have Freddie Slater, Abbey Pulling. This is going to really challenge Abbey Pulling even more with people like Freddie coming in. So that'll be fast, really good. Because you've got GTs, mostly it follows the British GT around. So great racing to go and look at. So I suggest people go and watch those.
I sat next to, only because they're staying in the same hotel as me, but they sat next to Taylor Barnard and what's the other guy? Yeah. Alex Dunn. He
was out there. He's reserve.
Yeah, reserve driver. God, he looks about 12. And that's trust me, Alex, if you're listening or anyone knows Alex, that's a compliment, because when you get older, you want to look younger. But they both look really young. Yeah. And I asked about Freddie Slater, and I said, is he the real deal? He seems the real deal. He said, yeah, he's very quick. Yeah. So, he clearly is, isn't he?
Well, the other one much hyped is Arvid Lindblad.
Yeah.
I think he's got a Formula 2, hasn't he? He was the biggest, won more F3 races than anyone last year. Anyway, he did the other options to go down to Australia, as many have done before, to the Formula Regional Oceania. But he hasn't got much opposition out there. He's dominated that after about 4 rounds. In fact, second in the championship is a Kiwi called Zach Scowler. And he came to Britain to do Formula 4 last year and only finished 15th in the British Formula 4. So it's quite one of the Kiwis, one of the Red Bull supercar drivers, the touring car champion. I think he's a champion, is doing it as well, finishing 4th or 5th. So that's quite fun. But no, Lindblad is the talent out there, and almost embarrassingly quick. But I mean, the trouble is, even these cars now, you're only 10th quicker. You know, Freddie Slater gets on pole by 0.07. You know, because it's a 10th of a second covers the first 6 sometimes in these single-seater cars, because they're so on rails, you know, and you can't drive around the cars. They talk about the tyres, you get 2 laps, and you have to, if you don't heat your tyre up or you get held up in qualifying, it's very hard.
Is it all the same chassis, all the same car?
Yeah, all the same cars, which is why, you know, we talked last year, I wish they'd put create slipstream with a Hanford device wing or something, because they're going down straights right behind the gearbox. So they can't, there's no slipstream to overtake. So, you know, people talk to me about GB3, young drivers I know that, you know, race, you can't overtake hardly. You know, it's so hard. So qualifying even every track in Britain is crucial, which is, it's a shame. They need to, but I think someone's having pushed to pass this year. Is that GB3? I'm sure someone's adding it. Not pushed to pass, I mean, DRS things. I'm not sure. I've forgotten. Anyway, so the children are out playing in the sunshine, whether it's down in Australia or in the Middle East. That's all going on. Dakar, of course, you were out there to the beginning, and I'm rather glad in a way that neither Ford or Dacia did win it straight away. You know, I thought when Audi, I hate it when a big team, a steamroller comes in, you know, and just, Audi have done that for year after year at Le Mans. You know, we'll only turn up if you give us 3,000 horsepower, and, you know, we won't come, we won't play. And they hit a huge budget, as they did last year. They didn't win it the first time out with their electric hybrids. Did they call them hybrids? There must have been.
I think it is hybrid.
So they took a sledgehammer last year, won it, and then left it. You know, and
but that wasn't their first year. That was their second year, because the year before they tried the same with Matthias and Carlos, and they didn't do very well.
It was the Toyota Hordes, the Toyota. What do they forget? What the name of the car is? The Toyota High. What's the model anyway?
Not a Hilux, is it?
I think they still call it the Hilux. And in fact, I quite like the Toyota. They still have more of a resemblance to the actual car vehicle, 4x4.
They do, actually. You're right.
Whereas these new ones, the Dacia, the Ford, they're both almost identical looking, because both of them had big rollovers. So by the time the drivers rip all that tiny, thin skin of carbon fibre off them, they look like the same flipping thing, you know, a box with rollover hoops.
Alataya, of course, won with Toyota a few years ago, and 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it was, and and now he's with Dacia, so he must be kicking himself that he moved. But I guess
Yeah.
it's all about the money, honey.
Yeah. And a Saudi won it. First time someone, a home driver's won Dakar. Yazeed Al-Rajhi did it. He's a privateer. He's a billionaire businessman. Apparently, half the time when he's in the camp, he's doing his business, when he's out doing the Dakar.
Wow.
So he won in a privateer Toyota because he overtook the factory driver, Hendrik van Latingen, the South African guy.
Was that tactical, or was he did
no,
that
I think Henk wasn't as good in the dunes. I think the Saudi guy came,
amazing,
on strong. And I think there's navigation. Every stage there's a navigation errors, and it depends how much you're limited. But it was a tough thing again. You see those crashes and rolls and the stress and the hours on the road, the hours they spend, bouncing around, physical.
But it's so easy to catch a rut. You're doing 80, 90 miles an hour. And ruts just turn up, and when you're there, so easy to flip it.
So, but it was also quite. While I liked Toyota's winning, it was quite nice that Ford got the third place with Matthias Ekstrom, and Dacia got fourth place with Nasser Al-Attiyah. So everyone had something to smile about, and I think it was really competitive this year. And really exciting. So we get more.
I saw the M Sport Malcolm Wilson's team. They said how delighted they were, third and fifth place, and they're over the moon for their first entry. And we'll be back. We'll be back next year. And of course, Defender will be there next year as well. Yeah, they've announced that in a big way. So that'd be quite good. But they're not going for the, what do you call the top tier Dakar cars?
Yeah, they call it that. Yeah, the top tier.
Yeah.
The top tier.
They're going to keep them as
the only British competitor in the top tier. Ultimate. They'll call them ultimates. What they call them. Sam Sunderland, the bike rider, British bike rider, won it twice on a bike. He was partnering. He was actually navigating. He wasn't even turning the steering wheel. Toby Price, his biker mate, was. They were down on stage 7, so no Brits finished in the car class. Our two brave bikers in the sort of. It's called Rally 2, I think, because they're not allowed all the factory mechanic helps, that they still self-service. And Robbie Wallace, they both finished 74th. He was only 86 hours behind the winner of his class. But that does include penalties, I think, because if you miss a day, you get 20 hours penalty or something. And James Hillier, 3 places and about 20 hours, 30 hours further back. Made it 77. He was the one that broke his nose on the first day when he went over the handlebars. So there are two brave bikers.
How'd you do that with a helmet on?
I think when you hit sand hard. I'm not sure they full face, because some bike riders have that sort of. No, they must be full face.
Oh no, maybe they're not. You're right, actually. Maybe they are just.
Yeah, that sort of motorcycle scrambling sort of bikes. They don't actually have it's a bit of plastic covering.
I bet he wears a full face next year.
Yeah. So anyway, brave boys, and they both made it to the finish line. So great stuff.
Good.
The Dakar, entertaining as always, and just spectacular to watch.
Yeah, it really is spectacular. I think it suits Saudi. It'd be nice if it was still a Paris Dakar, but it's that ship sailed.
I've lost a page now. What was next? I can't turn.
We're going to talk about coming up. So we got
Monte Carlo. And I've been Googling Monte Carlo Rally weather. I've been on the World Endurance Championship, World Rally Championship website. I've been on all the websites. Nobody's talking about what the weather's going to be. Because for me, how good or bad the Monte's going to be this year is how the weather's going to be. Because I don't like it.
Why does that matter?
All tarmac, because it's just a tarmac rally. It's not the Monte Carlo rally. It needs those icy stages where you choose studs, and you can have little studs or big studs, and then you see that sometimes you see them, hardly staying on the road at 10 miles an hour.
I know, it's
rally
crazy.
Car, and they go the skill they have, to negotiate being on sheet ice and not slither off the road. But it's just always something I look forward to.
What tyres are they this year? It's not Pirelli anymore, is it?
Yeah, so that's one of the big things. There's 2 changes in the rules, because the tyres are not Pirelli. Hancock have taken over the tyres.
Same as
that's something. All the rally boys have got to get used to. There's no hybrid. They've dropped the hybrid because it was a pain in the bloody arse.
Yes, that's good.
The number of drivers, I didn't have hybrid on this stage. And the cost of these things, they had this G meter in the car, and if you landed heavily and your G meter went over a certain number, you had to replace your battery pack, and so it was becoming a huge expense. It had a lot of weight, and it's just not what you want on racing cars. And the sooner it goes off other formula we can talk about. So yeah, 5 Toyota, only 10 cars in the top class, as tends to be the way. Sometimes only down to 8, isn't it, or even 7 at rallies now. The 5 Toyotas, where Kalle Rovanperä has joined full-time partners Elfyn Evans and Takamoto Katsuta. But they've also put their 2 part-timers in. Some bloke called Sebastian Ogier, I think, who's won it a few times. And then their new Finn, their new star of the future, is getting an outing at the Monte Carlo, Sami Pajari. Then Hyundai are going full-time. The first time they're going full-time. They used to have just 2 full-time, 1 part-time that would change drivers. So world champion Thierry Neuville, who'll be wearing number 1, Ott Tanak, and Adrian Formeau has moved over from Ford to be a full-time third Hyundai driver. And then just the 2 Fords, as always, Gregoire Munster has stepped up to lead the team. He was the sort of number 2 to Formeau last year. And they've got this wonderful story with this Irish kid, this Josh McLaren, who's stepping up. You know, I think he was in the Monte Carlo last year, the WRC 2 or 3, and he had a podium on WRC 2. But I mean, a massive step for him to come out of, mainly national rallying. I mean, it wasn't a lot of international. He was junior GR3. So all eyes really on the Irish boy, Josh. And hopefully we've got Gus Greensmith in WRC2. Gus is always up there in the top 3 or 4, waving the British flag. So we got 2 Brits in a way, with Elfyn, the Welsh star, and the Irish boy, Josh. So some interest there in the rallying, and again, just spectacular. Not sure how much TV coverage. Again, I'm not for that rally. It's a question of time. I don't know how much they charge, because you always say it's hard to watch World Rally Championships. You just get those little highlights on Eurosport in the evening or somewhere. But you can, of course, subscribe, and you can go on board with anybody you want to be. I think almost throughout the whole rally. It's an incredible thing if you're a real rally diehard fan. If you go onto the World Rally Championship video department.
Oh,
so you can do that in Formula 1. I don't know anybody that does that in Formula 1. You can do that in Formula 1. Can't you subscribe?
Yeah, you can Formula 1 on Sky. You can go on board with any driver. Yeah. So, and Daytona's coming up as well.
Yeah, and then Daytona this weekend. So
how many times you raced at Daytona?
Yeah, about half a dozen times. I just love going there because it's so completely different. A bit of sunshine in January if you're lucky. Usually cold. I've checked the weather forecast for this year, and no rain. Usually there's a lot of rain as well that can come and hit that event. And it's only about 15 degrees, 12 to 15, so it's chilly.
Wow. Old track.
But, off up on the old banking. But yet again, they've changed the bus stops. The bus stop on the back. My very first time for the Daytona 24H race in Aston Martin Nimrod, there was no chicane on the back straight. So we left the infield section, went out onto the turn 1 banking, up to the wall, building up your speed. And then down the back chute, there was no bus stop chicane. So we went into turn 3 NASCAR at 200 miles an hour. Amazing experience. It took me about 10 laps to keep my foot on the throttle. It's really weird because when you go around the banking high up, you've got to look at the highest part of the windscreen to see even 300 yards ahead, because obviously the corner's going away from you. So to make sure you're seeing trouble ahead. And I kept on feeling, I'm going up to that wall. I'm going up to that wall. So I had to keep on looking down a bit.
How do you do that at night time?
The headlights are quite good, but in those days, there was no light on the infield. Again, there's so many of them, even it's not that long ago I was doing this, or not in my mind anyway, but there's no light on the infield at all.
It was probably 40 years ago, wasn't it?
Yes, but yeah, it was. But they used to have 84 cars, including like a GT, like a little front-wheel drive hot hatch and drive. And you used to sort of be going around the loop of the inside, and suddenly you see a car appearing from the dirt from the outside who'd been off into the wilds. But now not only is it brilliantly spotlit, which is a bit of a shame, but also they keep on changing the bus stop. Because when I did the first year, the bus stop, it was quite a heavy braking, tight left, right, and then a reasonably long straight, and then another fairly tight right, left before you went back out of the banking. So overtaking was possible, and it also skill was needed. But they shortened the element between the two S bits, which meant there was no chance of overtaking in between. And because they kept on, there was dirt and people falling off and spinning because they went offline. They have, of course, tarmacked everything. And of course, you can't go over big curbs, can you? Because you've got ground effect, low ride height cars that might be damaged. So we saw this. In fact, it was young Alex Brundle spotted it. You know, commentates a lot on Formula 3 and Formula 2.
Really
very good commentary. And he just pointed at the track limits. They'll just be straight lining the bloody thing. And of course, the second element was so crucial because the speed you rejoin the banking before turn 3,
all the way
around turn 4 and past the start-finish line to outbrake someone into when you go off the oval. So you'll speed out of the last one, and it was fast. You know, it was crucial. And now, of course, you can just drop 2 wheels over the apex, and the curb is nothing. You can almost take 4 wheels to the left. And who's going to spot that in 24 hours non-stop racing? Well, I suppose they do it in Le Mans. They have track limits. So a bit of a shame, but
well, who knows? It could end up being amazing, Tiff. Let's hold judgment.
But also the entry is quicker, so the braking for the first bit where you could overtake is almost lost. You know, the chance of overtaking gets less.
Safety first. Even though 40 years ago when you were racing, there was your fuel tank was right behind you, and it was just no. I mean, now it's the safety on a car.
Yeah, well, 70 cars, still 70 cars out there.
Yeah, that's a lot.
280 drivers because there's 4 cars in each car. So there's some quite amateurs there, which these GTP cars have got to weave their way through, which is half the skill of long distance racing.
So do you keep as a slower car? Not that you ever win in the slower categories, but the slower car will keep their line. They'll just stay on their racing line.
No, you can't try. Well, they do tend to stay low on the banking. They don't need to go up to the top level. But you know, there's 12 GTP cars, the equivalent to the World Sports Car Championship cars, 12 LMP2s, which of course don't do World Sports Cars, 14 GT Pros and 22 GTAMs. Of the 280 drivers, 26 Brits are out there. So lots of British interest. We've got the British commentary team of John Hindhoff and Jeremy Shaw on IMSA.com. It's one of all weekend. You can just drop into that, you know, catch up with the catch-ups every hour. They tend to do a quick recap of each hour. And the British drivers out for a win. Nick Tandy's in one of the 4 Porsches. Each of the 3 Cadillacs has got a British driver: Will Stevens, Jack Aitken, or Alex Lynn. The 2 Acuras have got the British drivers, Tom Blomqvist and Nick Yaloli. Roman Grosjean's out in the one and only Lamborghini. And Grosjean's out of an IndyCar drive this year. He hasn't managed to pick up a ride. He couldn't bring any money and didn't want to bring any money. I'm sure he wanted to be paid. So sadly, we haven't got Grosjean in IndyCar at the moment. And the 2 BMWs...
Sadly, he didn't really do much. I mean, Grosjean was...
He did well in Andretti, though. He should have won 2 races early on in his Andretti career.
Should have, could have,
taken out. When he got taken out at round 1 at St. Petersburg a couple of years ago, he was leading, and he got taken out of a couple of wins. BMWs were fastest in the test from last weekend. So, yeah, great. It's just a great motorsport event to watch. And the circuit's interesting to watch. I mean, one motor race I haven't caught up with, we did preview. They had the Dubai 12 hours or 24 hours. But it's just such a dull track. It's just this. I mean, apparently it's quite challenging to drive it as a driver. But again, there's massive runoff areas for track limits, and it just winds its way around through the desert. And
I don't think Dubai, people say, why don't Dubai just build the best track in the world because they've got the money? But I don't think they will, because there is massive respect, because for those of you who don't know, I don't want to state the obvious, but Abu Dhabi's in the UAE, Dubai, they're all part of the United Arab Emirates. So they won't do it because it's only an hour and 20 minutes, hour and whatever down the road. So I don't think they will. But
it was Dubai. It was Dubai 12 hours.
It was Dubai, yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah. Right. Speaking of all this endurance racing, I caught up with a couple of people I've mentioned a couple of drivers. So all the drivers are everywhere on Formula E, but I caught up with one driver who was laughing his head off when I told him the story. And you know the story, Alan McNish.
Well, you owned up to him that you were the man that took the wing off his winning Porsche.
Yeah, he was laughing his head off. What a lovely guy he was. Really nice guy.
What's he doing now? He was
doing commentary with Nicky Shields for Formula E, and Billy Munger was there as well doing it.
He's not involved with Audi at all, then, right? Because Audi aren't in Formula E anymore.
No, they're not Formula E. No, they dropped it.
What else is Alan doing, though? Is he involved in the world?
I didn't actually. He was mid comms, and I just went up to him on the grid before. and I said, "I've got a confession to make to you." He was like, "He said, it's you, was it, you bugger?" It was very nice. And also, I had a good chat again. I keep bumping into Karun as well, your old mate from Fifth Gear, and he's just such a
was he out there
man.
as well? Is he on the Formula E
Yeah,
bandwagon now?
yeah, he does bits. So he's still doing Sky Sports for Formula One, and he's busy. He's really, really busy.
I know. I always feel like there's 10 Karuns. He seems to pop up all over the place. He's incredibly fit and industrious, and he's a really good ambassador for motorsport. And
I agree.
I think he would. I've always joked with him. He's going to be the next FIA president.
FIA president. I wish he was, because he's got common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
He's very pragmatic.
He knows about track limits. He knows about how driving skills, and wants to be old school. Yeah. He wants some old school. Because his dad, bought him Autosport when he was 2 years old, sort of thing. So he's grown up as a true fan of the sport, and he's I really
like him.
Yeah,
he does, because he says it how it is, but he says it it's not an offensive way, because some people get offended if you tell the truth, or not the truth, but if you're blunt. But he says it in a nice way, and he's always got the reason behind it. He's very articulate as well. So hence why he's because
apparently there's no challengers of Bin Sulayem. He's coming back for re-election this year, and I read in one for it that nobody's put themselves.
I mean,
forward.
there can't be the stuff that you read about him week in, week out. I mean, it's just awful.
But surely the Formula One teams don't like. I don't know. I'm sure the Formula One teams would like a more approachable president. So you would have thought they would find someone to promote and put forward out of the sort of many
Mr.
people.
Chanduk.
Well, yes, I don't think Karun's ready for it. I think you have to be a steward. I don't know what you have to be to get to that level. But
Ben's wasn't that old, was he? But I don't know, maybe it's more.
You've got to campaign around the world, because there's 800 votes you've got to go and please.
Exactly.
It's a huge, huge task to
Africa, baby.
Bush, let's get Bush in. We might as well get him in as well. He's been
Bush
president today. Not Bush, not Bush.
Biden,
not Biden.
Trump.
Trump.
Did you see yesterday? This is a motorsport podcast. So he launched his new cryptocurrency, and he made 53 billion off the back of it. Unbelievable! And what a time to launch it. Oh, that was coincidence, wasn't it? But I'm not going to talk about politics.
Because I've never understood crypto. Apparently, crypto is sort of, if you get in early, you make money. But if you're someone that arrives a bit late, you're the one who loses all your money. It's a bit like sort of
Ponzi scheme.
Pure Ponzi scheme, and then it dies. So you launch one that shoots up, and then it dies.
From bitter experience, follow me on any investments, and they will all go south. They'll all die. And on that note, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we will.
Thanks for joining.
I'll sue you next week. So you reminded me. I'll be speaking to my solicitors.
It's a really bad line.
Enjoy Monte Carlo. Enjoy.
Yeah. Cheers, Tiff. I can't hear you. Bye.